After Wes Craven's death in 2015, it was hard to imagine the Scream series continuing without him. With Kevin Williamson coming and going from the series, Wes was always the creative linchpin, knowing the right way to shepherd the series. And with the MTV show nearly tanking the brand, there was always the question of whether or not the Scream franchise would ever be a viable film series again. Thankfully, Radio Silence would hear none of that and provided us one of the better entries in the entire series. So join us today as we get in to what the f happened to Scream 5.
It's a girl at home, alone. She answers a wrong number and starts talking with the killer who makes her play a game. Would you like to play a game, Tara?
After the release of Scream 4, both Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson were signed on for more films. But after the extremely difficult productions of 2, 3, and 4, Craven was adamant that they not enter production until they had a 100% completed screenplay, something which hadn't occurred since the original. Williamson's idea was to follow characters from Scream 4, creating a pitch concept, but never filling it out into a full-length screenplay. Williamson's idea was written before Scream 4 was released and had finalized its ending, so his concept actually had Jill going to college and being stalked. How this was going to happen given the ending of 4 is anyone's guess. When asked about the film in 2012, Williamson claimed that he just wasn't doing it. It was later revealed that Williamson and Craven had a bit of a falling out, with Aaron Kruger even needing to be brought in for rewrites on 4, not Williamson. In 2015, Bob Weinstein denied any existence of a 5th installment, instead diverting focus to the newly premiering TV series. They felt that television was the right place for the franchise to head, and would help serve as a bit of a reboot. While the Scream name would help propel the series into multiple seasons, it's a very poorly done teen melodrama, more akin to Dawson's Creek than something Scream-related. There had been rumors that Blumhouse was interested in picking up the rights to the series, but this just ended up being a rumor. In 2019, Spyglass Media Group snagged the rights and would be creating a legacy sequel. This meant that we would be following a new cast, but still feature appearances from the characters that we love from past installments. There was a trend going on where legacy sequels were just given the same name as their original outing. I mean, just look at David Gordon Green's Halloween. So given that the Scream franchise comments on the world of horror at large, it was a no-brainer to title the film simply Scream. And like Green's Halloween, which has essentially just taken on the title of Halloween 2018, Scream has since firmly taken its place, rightfully so, as Scream 5. So we're going to refer to it as that from here on out just to avoid any confusion. Having directed the hugely successful Ready or Not, Radio Silence's Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette were brought aboard the project. Hilariously enough, the duo were actually developing Cocaine Bear at the time, which they departed for the town of Woodsboro. Showing that they were trying to do this right, Neve Campbell was announced as being in talks to return. Campbell originally didn't see herself returning to the franchise. Like many, she was hesitant about anything Scream related that didn't have Wes's involvement. This changed, however, after Radio Silence sent Campbell a personal letter explaining how much Craven and his films meant to them as filmmakers. It's a good thing that they did, because she was the one that suggested this line, which may be the coolest that Sidney has ever uttered.
I'm Sidney fucking Prescott, of course I have a gun.
Shortly after, David Arquette and Courtney Cox were both announced as returning to their roles of Dewey Riley and Gale Weathers, so the main three were officially returning. Writers James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick had worked with Radio Silence before, so they were brought aboard to pen the screenplay. One of the coolest things that they managed to do is really establish the first Stab film as being the same cultural milestone that Scream was. Because of this, the characters are able to reference events from Scream like it's a movie, despite that being the reality that they're living in. It's very meta and provides commentary in a way that only Scream can really do. The cast was filled out with the who's who of young actors such as Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, Mason Gooding, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Dylan Minnette, Jack Quaid, Kyle Gallner, and Mikey Madison. Heather Matarazzo would even cameo as Randy's sister Martha Meeks. Then of course, Roger L. Jackson returned as the voice of Ghostface, and was even on set, providing the actual voice for when characters are on the phone with the killer. As far as the movie itself, we follow Samantha Carpenter as she's returning home to Woodsboro after her sister has been attacked by someone wearing a ghost face mask. Technically the first opening without a kill. The killer is targeting her and starting to take out everyone around her. We get Sydney, Gail, and Dewey returning in order to help out, but things have certainly changed. Sydney lives far away with her husband and kids, while Dewey and Gail have divorced, with Gail living in New York City. Dewey has become a shell of himself, the divorce taking a massive toll on him. And I feel like I need to address the elephant in the room, as it has divided fans: Dewey's death. While it's never fun to see beloved characters die, Dewey's arc was completed and he didn't have much else to do for the story. In order for these franchises to continue on, they must move on from their past. And if that means losing a few characters along the way, then so be it. His death serves to remind the audience that the stakes are real and no one is safe. But even the studio was concerned about killing off such a beloved character, and even requested that Radio Silence shoot an alternate scene where Dewey survives. They even shot something with Cox and Arquette interacting afterwards, but the directors have said that they never once intended to use it.
Welcome to Act 3.
Eventually it's revealed that Samantha's boyfriend Richie and Tara's friend Amber are the ones behind it all. They are Stab superfans who met on a message board and are upset with the direction of the series. And they realize that all of the best Stab films are based on true events, so they're setting out to make the sequel that they always wanted. We also get the reveal that Samantha is actually the love child of Billy Loomis, so Richie is hoping to blame the murders on her, the daughter of the original killer. It's an interesting concept and takes aim at fans who don't like something just because it didn't go how they wanted it to.
To show that this wasn't just some bullshit, cash-in, run-of-the-mill sequel. Because our movie has fucking stakes!
Richie represents a lot of overzealous fans.
To Wes!
Beautiful son of a bitch.
There's a beautiful moment where the characters are toasting the recently departed Wes Hicks. Obviously, this pulls double duty, as it also serves as a nice little tribute to Wes Craven. The filmmakers actually had Scream alumni come in and record the toast, which were all overlaid on top of each other. Drew Barrymore, Jamie Kennedy, Hayden Panettiere, Henry Winkler, Adam Brody, and Matthew Lillard all provided their voices for the moment. But it wasn't just the actors who got involved. With Craven's widow, Aya LaBanca, Kevin Williamson, Scream editor Patrick Lussier, prior composer Marco Beltrami, producer Julie Plec, and even filmmaker Ryan Johnson, who allowed himself to be poked fun at, all provided their voices here. Lillard also appears as Ghostface in the Stab 8 footage that we get to see, with Barrymore getting a voice cameo as the school principal.
All classes and school activities are canceled tomorrow due to public safety concerns.
Oddly enough, one of the most exciting moments of the film is this random YouTube video, which has a shout out to the massive horror channel Dead Meat, who get a cameo here. But the important part is in the related tab. We see that Kirby has in fact survived. There had been speculation for years that Charlie stabbing her wouldn't have been quite enough, especially since they never show her body, but we finally have confirmation that Kirby is around, and obviously we get her in the next film. There are a ton of references to the film within a film series, Stab, including a full look at its fictional IMDb. And I'm sure most of you noticed the wonderful memorial that Dewey has for his sister Tatum. Dewey not really acknowledging his sister's death in any of the sequels has always been a source of contention with fans, so it was a nice little shout out here. Filming took place in Wilmington, North Carolina in September of 2020, after having been delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Alternate scenes were filmed in order to throw people off the actual story of the movie from any prying eyes. Strangely enough, since filming took place in North Carolina, many of the crew had already previously worked on Kevin Williamson's TV show Dawson's Creek, making it a reunion of sorts. Due to the difficulties of filming during COVID, it'd be easy to assume that the set was less than friendly than others, but the cast made a concerted effort to have fun. David Arquette even taught the young cast how to paint like Bob Ross, as he's actually a certified instructor. By the time filming wrapped in November, the cast and crew said that they felt like a family. Scream 5 released on January 14th, 2022, and brought in over $30 million on its opening weekend. The film would end its run at $138 million worldwide, and brought about mostly positive reactions, earning a 76% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The critical consensus was that the fifth Scream finds the franchise working harder than ever to maintain its meta edge, and succeeding surprisingly often. The movie would be so successful that a sequel was greenlit in February of 2022, with the same creative team returning. Unfortunately, there would be one key element missing, but that's a story for another time. Scream 5 managed to continue Wes Craven's legacy while carving out a path all of its own. While some fans are upset about the demise of Dewey, others are excited at the introduction of so many strong new characters. And that's one of the great things about the Scream franchise. Regardless of where the series goes, the journey getting there has been killer.
What about my ending?
Here it comes.
Microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand.